On today's episode, I have Kathleen Gramzay joining me. She is a body, mind, performance, and self-care expert, and she is just in time before the holidays. So if you're looking to find opportunities to take a deep breath, invest in yourself, or find opportunities to invest in your people within your organization, this is a podcast episode you'll want to listen to. Kathleen, thanks so much for joining me today.
Oh, my pleasure.
So excited to have you here. I think you provide so much great insight and knowledge as far as what we should be doing to set ourselves up for success, especially with the holidays right around the corner. There's a lot of stress and tension that comes with the holidays.
Indeed.
So would you mind maybe sharing a little bit more about your expertise and how that could help individuals during this time of year?
My pleasure. For me, my background is body-mind. So really my expertise is in helping people understand how their bodies and their minds work so that you can actually partner with them, right? And treat them as a friend rather than a foe, and really be able to have a more joyful life. You know, be better at what you do, enjoy your life better, be kinder to other people, treat yourself better. It's all encompassing in understanding that the body and mind, particularly the body, has skill sets that the mind doesn't, and actually can keep your mind in a better state, which is usually what's causing the problem, oftentimes.
So I'm curious, what's the secret? What do we need to know, or what should we be doing? I think that we hear so much information out, we read a lot of articles or books or listen to other podcasts. We're trying to absorb as much of that information as possible. Based on your knowledge, experience, and expertise, what should we be doing, especially this time of year, that would be helpful?
I would say the first thing is quit ignoring your body. Quit ignoring when you're hungry and you don't eat. Quit ignoring when you're tired and you don't sleep. Quit ignoring when you need to drink water and you're not. Quit ignoring when you need to go to the bathroom and you don't, right? It's like the people are used to ignoring their body for the most part, and the only time they pay attention to it is when they have to, oftentimes, right? Or it's more of an aesthetic caring. Like, we got all kinds of self-care that goes around, our nails and our hair and our things that make us look better. And oftentimes, it's like the superficial health as opposed to the actual health, which is, our energy levels and how we are able to think and whether we're able to relate to each other. It's basic things that we just don't pay attention to. And then we're so busy working on taking care of other people, or, getting one more thing in, or one more thing on our calendar, or we have to do one more thing to feel that like we're really good at what we do, that we're constantly putting ourselves last on the priority list.
I think that hits home for me, especially. I mean, I know for a lot of other professionals, we get so busy in our everyday lives, and I feel like it's not uncommon for us to be the last people that we tend to take care of. We're busy taking care of our clients and our coworkers all day at the office, and we go home and we're taking care of our families. So yeah, I know we all know that, but it's good to, share that again, that it's really important, especially this time of year. Yeah. So a lot of us are looking at setting New Year's resolutions for 2020. And a lot of times we set these resolutions, and a lot of times we fall off the bandwagon a month or 2 months, or even, 3 or 4.
For sure.
And I'm curious, just based on your experience, what are some relatively simple ones that we could look to integrate into our 2020 New Year's resolutions that would actually lead to long-term success, and that we feel like would be relatively easy to integrate into our daily rituals and routines?
Well, first of all, we don't have to wait till January of 2020, seeing it this is November, and we have, we have the crunch 8 or 6 weeks, how many weeks we're away, right? From the end of the year, and this is accelerated stress time, right? Because everything else that you have going on in your regular life, then you add in fourth quarter challenges for everybody in business, like, got to make my numbers, and the pressure's on. And on top of that, by the way, now we're going to have all the holidays, and then we get to deal with all the family dynamics that may, or, like whatever level of those are, right? Good or not so good. And now is actually the time to start integrating these. So what I would invite you to do right now, and everybody who's listening, when they hear this, is start this today, because the belief is that we have to carve out some big amount of time that we have to, like, we got to, I have to go get a massage, which I do and love, right? Given my background. But it's really about being mindful in this moment. And, it's so funny because, there's people I've talked to and like, don't tell me to breathe. I'm so sick here, and just breathe. And people, it's because people don't understand the value of what that does for your nervous system and your health that they just dismiss it. Or they dismiss it because there's these belief systems around everything's got to be a big, hairy deal and it's got to take forever. Or it's got to, you got to go do something. Somebody else has to do something to you is the biggest piece, right? So when you simply take 1 minute, and if you just took an in-breath and an out-breath for the count of 5, and you did it 6 times, that's 1 minute. In that time, you can change your nervous system to go from being in that fight or flight side to getting over into the restorative side, where your immune system functions better, where your frontal lobe and your actually works, is functioning, and where you can relate to people better. So it's so simple. So the first invitation is 1 minute. Now, it's the most important thing is you tie it to something you do all the time, right? Because habit is, we have to tie it to something we do, because otherwise, we forget. So you can do that when you're sitting at a stoplight. You can do that when you're waiting for anything. Instead of just being on your phone mindless with, okay, let me look at something, or, be occupied, right, or distracted. If I just took this minute and took my head out of my phone and actually gave my neck a break at the same time, right, pulled your head up, and you just sat and you breathed for 1 minute, you would be shocked how much it changes your physiology.
I bet.
Yeah.
But maybe we shouldn't close our eyes when we're sitting at that stoplight.
Oh, don't do that.
So don't close your eyes when you're breathing at the stoplight.
Right,
keep them open.
Keep your eyes open. Yeah, you can breathe and keep your eyes open. Yeah.
No, I love that you bring that up. I mean, I've been told for a number of years that a lot of leaders meditate, or they take some time to practice their breathing on a daily basis. So just for you to break it down and say, just to do it for a minute every day, I think that's an awesome way. And that's relatively easy to implement into our daily practices. I did see the difference. I mean, you recently just spoke at one of our AZ BizLink events on investing in your people, and we did a brief breathing exercise. And as many times as I've done something like that before, it is amazing. Like right after we get done with it, you're like, wow, I do feel immensely better. So I'm glad you kicked off our event with that.
Yeah.
But leading into that, I really think it's important that we talk about the topic you just covered at AZ BizLink. So we talked about investing in your people and the importance of why organizations should care about that investment. Would you mind just sharing a little bit more for those that weren't able to attend the event, the value behind that?
There is always a balance that businesses are working with. Their balance is well, number one, if it's especially public company, profit, right? Shareholders, profit. So the intention is there, and obviously clients or customers are how you make that profit. So, and then the people who work for you or run the company or are, working in the company are the way you get that done, right? So over the years, there has been lots of different perspectives about how people see employees. Right? They see it used to be labor, right? The word labor. Now you're saying human capital. So we're making progress in terms of recognizing that without your people, there is no business, right? So when you're talking about investing in your people, there's different levels and layers. So what's great to see the stats show, recent research shows that, what people are looking at in terms of what to invest in. So the soft skills are things like, so you have the job-related skill sets, right? You have training in that. But then there's collaboration, there is leadership performance, and communication, right? Or so leadership and communication. So those are usually the soft things that people are looking at now. This year, it's very interesting that the number one quality that businesses are looking for in people is creativity. So they're looking for creativity, they're looking for problem solving, they're looking for collaboration, they're looking for adaptability in their people. And yet, these people are working under tremendous amounts of stress, many times, right? Deadlines, and just by nature of the virtue of change, right? Life is changing all the time, and you need to have skill sets to work with that. So what happens is like, okay, we're going to have this training, which is great. First of all, if your company buys into the concept of investing in their people, And what I can tell you in the last 3.5 years in my business and working with companies, there are companies that are so genuine in that, and they are such a joy to work with. And there are also other companies that have the very similar mission statements on their walls, and it's a checkbox, right? So yeah, we're going to do this, but we're not going to actually give you any time. Like you're going to have training, but you don't actually get any time to finish it or do it. There's no follow-up with it. So it's like, okay, even when they do invest, sometimes they do a day retreat. It costs them a lot of money. It's like, kudos that you just invested. But if you are not giving support so that those aspects, those new concepts can be assimilated, then you're not making the most of those training dollars. So it's about balancing the budget, right? In understanding that the investment, when you're investing in your people, then you are going to get the results that you're wanting to get. You're going to have greater ability to attract great talent, and more importantly, to keep great talent. And then in that continuing education, it gives people the path and the lane to be able to then move further in their development path, which is what they're interested in, right? Because when we see why people leave companies, good people leave companies because they have conflict with their supervisor, right? With their manager, for example. The thing is, the managers are, in my view, like I have a special place in my heart for all the management levels, because I call it the stress sandwich. Because they have their edict, they have okay, these are the goals we have for the company, and then now they're responsible to carry out those goals through the people who they lead. If they are totally maxed out and stressed out, how good are they going to be at mentoring? How good are they going to be at being able to listen or help cultivate other people, right? So when you invest in your folks and give them the skill sets that they need to be able to have greater capacity to handle change, and to be more resilient, now you're talking about investing in ways that benefit the person across the board of their life, right? So it's not just going to help their job, but if they're able to think more clearly, work more collaboratively, that goes along with their family, right? So they had a good day, they're more resilient to handle everything, and then they can now come into their family being their best person.
Absolutely. What happens in the office goes home, and what happens at home comes to the office.
Right.
Kathleen, it's very clear that you're passionate about what you do. I'm curious, how did you get to this point in your career? What led you to this?
Oh, my goodness. Well, so I believe that we have our experiences, and then if we choose to accept those challenges and then move on and share them, that's where I'm at. And it started really as starting out as a massage therapist. And after 1 year doing deep tissue, because I wanted to do great work for everybody, my body was killing me. Literally, like it was, if I didn't find a smarter way to work, I was done. So that led to me, and I just have movement is innate to me. So I figured if I could somehow figure out how to use the body's design for movement instead of force, then maybe I could continue. And so I became my own experiment, and I started, I studied anatomy and kinesiology like a crazy girl, and kind of figured out how to reverse engineer the body's design for movement to release chronic tension and pain. So I cleared myself out, made it into a method of massage I called Kinessage, which means like massage as movement or movement as massage. And then a couple years later, there's therapists at a conference. They all still have the pain I don't have anymore. Now it's for them. So I became nationally certified. It took all my everything I figured out, put it into curriculum, and taught that around the country to occupational, physical, and massage therapists. And did that for a number of years concurrent with my practice. And then when 2015 rolled around, I saw all the opioid addiction epidemic going on. And it just hurt my heart, frankly. And I was like, okay, I got to figure something out. How can I do this for everybody? And that was really challenging because I am not a tech girl. Like, it's not my world. I'm kinesiology, right? So I'm about touch and feel. So I did figure it out. And wrote a book called Release Your Pain, Expand Your Life, and paired that with 6 segments of videos of the movements that I created that are like dominoes for your body, and systematically release the chronic pain and tension for things like sciatica and carpal tunnel and anything that's soft tissue, so not bone or arthritis stuff, but soft tissue stuff. So did that, and then I come into corporate. And so now 75% of the people literally have some kind of musculoskeletal issue. And so I thought, okay, this is the perfect place for this. I can make the biggest impact. This will be great. And I get there, and then I find that that is true. And, oh, by the way, everybody literally is virtually chronically overstressed. So I'm seeing everybody walk around in my lens, how I see. I'm watching everybody walk around in survival mode. And so they don't, and when you're in survival mode, you don't know you're in it. Your body is in emergency mode. So you're just doing your best to do your best because that's what that mode is. And it's until you can get into that, like when you can sleep good and when you're happy and when you're engaged and enjoying people, that's when you're in the restorative side.
So I think that sounds like a good challenge for all of us, maybe to become a little bit more aware of our work environments to see if it's more of a survival of the fittest and just getting it done and getting through the day, or if we're actually in a better, more mental state.
Yes. And I mean, that's key actually, because I liken it to, a fish in the ocean, right? The fish grew up, he's there in the water, she's there just swimming. And, it's looking for food, looking for predators, like that's where the mindset is. And thinking that what's damaging them possibly is not enough food or a predator. Meanwhile, the water could be toxic, right? And stress is the water we live in as humans, in my view. So it's really understanding that the reason why people are not collaborative, or one of the biggest, impacts of why we as human beings with these nervous systems walking around, we're literally we are responding, we are reacting to the nervous system's perception of threat, right? If we don't feel safe, if the body does not feel safe, it's going to put you in survival mode. So it's getting triggered all the time. So instead of seeing like somebody's got a bad attitude, what if you looked at them and said, okay, I can see that they are really in survival mode. They are really in their, they're not in a good spot. When you see somebody screaming, right, angry, anxiety, it's really interesting because anger and frustration lead, when you take that to the furthest end, that is what becomes violence. So when you look at our society, look at how violent our society has become. And if you think about it, look at the amounts of the levels of stress that are going on in the world that are unprecedented. The other side of that, anxiety and overwhelm, especially overwhelm, that leads to the depression. Right? Depression side, and depression can then, the end of that spectrum is suicide. So if you look and see, one in 5 people are on anxiety meds today. 1 in 9 are on antidepressants. U.S. adults. That's a whole lot of medication going on.
It's a big number.
Yeah. So we've been conditioned to believe that we only can help ourselves by either taking something or going to see somebody, a professional. We have not been empowered to believe that we could understand how this body-mind vehicle that we're walking around in works. And we don't have any idea that we can actually master it. We can have control over those thoughts that start our spin. We can have control over our emotions, which are, yes, they're a reaction, but they're also, they're meant to be expressed, and they're meant to be let out. Like if you think of you got them all stuck in your heart, if you just imagine a little door and you just open the door, just let it out. Just let it out. If it's a negative emotion, seriously, because when you do that, that's what it is. It is energy. And the difference, have you ever had the situation where if you had really strong emotion that you started getting more mind chatter?
Of course.
Okay. Note this, everyone that's listening to this, next time when you have a really strong emotion about something that is you don't perceive as positive, watch how much your mind starts chattering. And it has to do something about it, right? I have to do it. Oh, we got to fix this. How are we going to fix this? And it just goes off because we have given our mind the job of you're supposed to protect me and keep me safe. So when you know that, okay, I'm in here. There's a driver inside who can hear those thoughts, can feel those emotions. And the body is the container that's been holding it all for us because we didn't know how else to deal with it. Now we can actually have more appreciation for our bodies.
I'm so thankful to have met you because I think it's been wonderful to share more of your story and how you can help people on a personal and professional level. And we had the great fortune of, spotlighting you at one of our events. You have the ability and have gone into other corporations here in the community to share how you can help them to make an impact.
Yeah.
If a company, a lot of companies know we should start having these conversations, but we don't know how to get started.
Yes.
how can you help them?
I would be happy to. Oh my God, it just makes me so happy working with companies who are already on, like they've taken the first steps, right? The first thing I would say for everybody is to understand, and particularly when it comes to mental health, just saying that term mental health, everybody gets scared. Because it's been very much in a little box that says, don't touch me. You certainly don't touch me unless you're a professional, don't touch me. And there's a lot of liability around that. So naturally companies are nervous about going there. They've certainly gotten great about having EAP programs. So you do have professionals who are available to help people. The biggest piece is recognizing that it's all one health. Mental health is not separate from physical health. So you can't separate your thoughts from your emotions, from your behavior, from your body. It's all one health. So how you think impacts how you feel. How you feel impacts how you are, what you do, and then what you do affects your body. So if you look at it from an example standpoint, if I have a big project I have to work on, and I'm like, I know it's going to be a lot of work, and so I'm just going to go get some coffee. I love coffee, but like if you have one cup, maybe I'll have a cup of coffee. This is going to be a big deal. So I have a couple cups of coffee, and I'm like, okay, I got all the energy I need, right? And then you get into your meeting and you do that, and now it's 10 o'clock, and you're like, now you got to sit down and do the pro forma or whatever you got to do. And it's like, all right, I could use a little break. A little sugar. I'll get a little sugar boost. That'll help. I'll go. Oh, we have donuts in the break room. Great. Get donuts, and then, or maybe it's lunchtime, and your teenager calls you and says something that sets you off in a different way, and now you're like, you know what? I'm trying to really eat, but I don't care. I'm going to go to the drive-thru. I don't have enough time for a real meal. I'm just going to go through and get the fries and the burger, and I'm just going to do that. And then you do that, and then, it's like 2 o'clock, and now you're starting to feel sluggish, and you're like, okay, I need some energy. Let me go get one of those cans that says that. And, it's like if I put B12 on the back of it, never mind that it's all sugar and caffeine, but if I add B12, I can write energy on the front of that can, right? So that's going to get me through the rest of the day. And then the rest of the day is like, you know what? That has been a heck of a day. I really just need a cocktail. I need to have a cocktail with whomever, will listen to me and the person who loves me, and I'm going to chill out. We are so used to doing things outside of ourselves to regulate how we feel. And so in teaching people very simple techniques like mindfulness, like breathing, like paying attention to how you're feeling and thinking, and recognize that you're in there, you can start to change it in the moment so it doesn't have to get to the point of burnout. And really that's my goal, is to help people understand that a minute's worth of attention to themselves, or an investment by a company in programs that support whole health, holistic health, whether that's they're doing pretty good. They're doing better as far as, most companies have a wellness plan. It usually has a walking challenge and, nutrition. And so that's the first step on the physical piece of it. But if you don't address the emotional and the mental piece, that's what's driving what you're putting in there. And so change that, and then people's desire, how they feel better. Now they're actually going to say, I know that I really want to eat that cheeseburger because I'm doing it for comfort. And I can actually just re-regulate myself right now. And then I could save myself the calories. and continue moving forward, right? So working with companies is, number one, is to understand it isn't rocket science. They just have to be open to, being open to science, because this is not being open to woo-woo, because Lord knows how much fun I've had with working with fire chiefs and all kinds of first responders relative to woo-woo. So this is all science-based, and it's really in understanding how the brain works, how the physiology works, and it doesn't have to be a big, I'm not going to, do a 20-hour kinesiology anything, right? But it's just explaining in simple terms. This is the relationship, and this is what's happening, and we are not our roles. Right? It doesn't matter if you're a CEO or you are a supervisor or if you are a janitor. We are all human beings with a nervous system that is getting triggered. And how do we work with that? And so what it does is, it's not about your role. It is about being the best you can be. And when you are free of the reactions to stress, right? When you're free to actually respond to it, then you can be the best of who you are. And then you can bring your best to your company. You can bring your best to your family. And that's when companies really that's where culture really comes from, in my opinion, right? There's a reason why certain companies, if you look at, Branson, Richard Branson is such an extraordinary being and leader, because he really gets that. He really gets that it's not platitudes. He really gets that, train your people so well that they can leave, and then treat them so they won't, right? And that's the truth is, our roles are a function. Who we are as human beings is universal, and giving people the tools to be able to be human beings, and then help everyone understand what that means, and to be able to look at each other in ways that you're not seeing somebody being in a bad attitude. You're seeing that they're in stress right now. They're in survival mode, and we can help each other. There's ways that we can actually help each other regulate each other just by simply smiling at somebody who's having a bad day. It's fascinating. You can hear that I can talk about it forever, but
absolutely. I know you kind of keep tabs on, the latest trends and what's happening, and you do a phenomenal job with that. I'm just curious, if people are interested in this kind of content, what other publications or sources or websites would you recommend they check out?
Ooh. Okay, that's challenging because I'm an assimilator of information. I'm an amalgamator. So I draw things from lots of different places and bring them together. What I can say is, if you look up brain science, any kind of neuroscience, and you're seeing it more now in business or in programs relative to actually seeing, it's going to be in performance, right? So leadership performance, I'm really happy to say, is now looking more at self-awareness, mindfulness, and emotional intelligence. So those three, if you want to say legs to the stool, those three together really are key, because anytime you teach people to be more self-aware and you give them tools to be mindful and regulate their own nervous system, they're going to be able to lead better. So that's what I would say. I don't have any specific, but if they just Google those three subjects, I'm sure they'll find plenty. And then I'm happy to obviously be a resource and help people navigate both things, navigate understanding it better. I do a lot of public speaking. That's what's my joy, is to go out and talk to people and help them understand this, and then also support them on the level of specifics. So oftentimes I just meet with a company, and I'm not a wellness broker. In fact, I don't even use well-being, and I'm not a wellness vendor. What I am is I am a partner in your well-being and a company's well-being.
And that's one of the reasons why we're so excited to kick off our new well-being retreat. So through AZ BizLink, there's just been a consistent trend from our attendees on our questionnaire that we hand out at the end of all of our events. People have just, stated they really want more content because they can't really find it, or they just want to hear from a real live person. And so we have one coming up on November 22nd with Randy Miller, but starting again, in Q1 of next year, we'll kick that one off and look forward to hopefully having you and other like-minded individuals to continue to have these conversations with the local business community.
Absolutely. And I really want to give credit and acknowledge the companies that, it's still a small percentage relative to the big, but it's like anything, right? People who are on the front edge is typically smaller till the tipping point hits. And I think that the numbers that people have in terms of the profits and the retention and the great talent, when everybody sees everybody's going over to a certain company, they're like, oh, okay, well, maybe we should get on board, right? I do really want to give credit to companies who are already doing that for their folks, because it's so beautiful to see and to support them in, and we really are starting to come around. And I invite the companies who have been more from a place of questioning it, or wondering whether it's the value is there or the ROI is there. I would simply invite you to try it and see the difference.
I'm curious, are there any companies that kind of come top of mind that you think are doing exceptionally well in this space?
Yeah, actually, I can tell you Sonora Quest Labs are amazing. I was so excited when I first met with them and to talk about collaborating with them and supporting them. They have a great curriculum already. They do leadership training all the time. And so when we sat down, I said, tell me what you're doing. So, they were wanting to know what I bring to the table and what would it look like. And so I said, well, if we can sit down and you can tell me what your curriculum is, I can tell you how this fits into it. And so when I sat down there, it was like, okay, we're doing all this different stuff. They were teaching Brene Brown vulnerability. I was like, oh, I love you because they really get it, right? That it's like you have to give people the skills to be authentic and real, and in having skill sets, then you're going to actually get the kind of results you want. So the fun part was when she said, well, where do you see this fitting in our leadership program? Or do you see it after? And so I looked at their curriculum, and the morning, it's a 3-day program. And the third morning they were starting out with the vulnerability. They were going to do role playing. And I said, okay, we need to put the mindful resilience in the afternoon before. And she said, really, why? And I said, because you're going to give your team the tools to ground themselves, to be present. So now when you ask them to do the vulnerability, they have the capacity to do it. And it's been really successful.
That's great.
Really, really been successful.
I always love to hear those stories, success stories, and who's doing it really well, especially here in our own local market.
Yes, and Lorraine Field she's a senior VP for their HR, and then her two development trainers, Laura Brazan and Karen Murphy, are stellar. They are so much fun to work with because they are really always thinking forward and really giving their team the tools to do their best.
That's great. A couple new people we need to connect with on LinkedIn.
Yes. Happy to do it. Yep.
So if individuals want to get in contact with you, do you have a website, or is there another great way for them to get a hold of you?
I do. My website is my name, so it makes it easy, KathleenGramzay.com, and that's GRAMZAY.com.
Awesome. So aside from finding her on our website, you're also going to be featured in our 2020 Resources for Growth publication, which we are excited to launch and kick off in January of next year. So within that publication, we're featuring a number of different phenomenal consultants or individuals that can help set businesses up for success. You are certainly one of them. So excited to spotlight you and many others here in our local business community.
Thank you. And I want to congratulate you, because you have done such a stellar job of creating this community of AZ BizLink. And really it's through your fortitude and your vision and your ability to get people to collaborate that you're just doing so many amazing things. And I'm thrilled for you to have the resource guide and everything that's coming for 2020.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Well, looking forward to continuing our conversation and having you back for one of our upcoming events in 2020. So thank you again, Kathleen, for joining me today.
My pleasure.